As a child, I always heard, just act normal. I've got like 38 years of experience. And the other day, they wanted to kick me out of a show because I'm not famous enough. 10 days later, they called me back again to say, we made a mistake. We want you back. If nobody is giving me a job again, let's do it myself. I played Diana. I was playing Evita. I played Fosca, Sweeney Todd. We were sold out. There's a lot of stories to tell about that. Yeah, people say sometimes, age is just a number. And then I say, yeah, and jail is just a room,
This is the Promise of Possibility podcast, sharing stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things so you can be inspired to do so too. I'm Maruja Bogaert. Now let's dive in. Vera, it is such a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Welcome, darling.
The pleasure is mine. You know that, Maru. I mean, we know each other for, I don't know how many years.
Oh, God. It's like, what, 17? Definitely 17?
Maybe 20. Our first concert in Curaçao. Was that 20 years ago?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. All right. Let's go on.
I know, Vera. Okay, this kind of it sets it all up for the rest of this conversation because we laugh a lot when we chat.
Good.
And also when we start talking, we tend to not stop talking. So
yeah, I'm afraid so.
So I'll have to keep an eye on the time. Mm-hmm. But it's not only a joy to have you here, but it's an honor because you are a phenomenal woman to begin with.
Thank
you. Also such a celebrated actress. And I know you don't like the word musical star, but I'm going to use it just for that reason, because you really, truly are in every sense of that word. So it is an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
Vera, you're from Belgium, but you live half in Belgium, half in the Netherlands, right?
Well, I now permanently live in Amsterdam already for 28 years.
Okay.
But it happened so that I worked in Belgium the last year for 1 year, 1 year and 2 months or something. So
okay.
That was the first time in a long time that I worked in Belgium again. So
wow.
as a Flemish girl, I had to adapt again to my own country where I come from. It's very strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
Amsterdam is now absolutely my home. It shifted. The first years I started working here, I missed my friends. I had my whole social life in Belgium, mm-hmm. and the work was here. So, but it shifted gradually. It took me a few years. And my telephone bills in late 80s, in the beginning of the 90s, you had to pay a lot.
Oh, God, I remember. Yes.
For your phone abroad. And but so the list was endlessly. And now, it shifted. So whenever I'm in Antwerp, I still see my friends, my oldest friends, of course.
Yes.
But my whole social life now, for the greatest part, is absolutely here.
Yeah. Amsterdam is home, isn't it?
It is. And I was so fortunate enough to buy a house here in 1995.
Wow.
And I didn't know it then, but it is one of the most beautiful neighborhoods you can imagine. It's like a little village in the middle of a town. So, yeah, I'm very fortunate, yes. And I never want to leave here.
Oh, amazing. I actually, because I was lucky enough to visit your home last summer, and it's like a little haven of peace in the middle of a bustling city. And I don't know if I mentioned this to you, I wrote a blog post about the tree, the Japanese tree that sits in
garden.
Yes. Because it's just amazing to have this haven of peace in the middle of a city like Amsterdam. It's crazy. Yes. And it really stuck with me. It's gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. That's It's the Japanese. It's the Japonica. It's not supposed to have been in the garden because it is so huge. It's so big
Yes.
that it might take away the sunlight in the back of the house for me.
Yeah. Okay.
But we are so in love with that tree because it also bears a thousand birds.
That's
I wake up
gorgeous.
in the morning with birds singing, and it's really what you said. It's so quiet here.
It is.
It's like it's really a village. And even during COVID, people were shopping, doing groceries for each other, and taking
Ah,
care of each
beautiful.
other. And so some parts of the world are still very okay.
Yes, they definitely are. We focus on those parts of the world, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes.
But
I want to tell me.
sometimes I have an English accent because I've studied I've studied a little bit in England, and I played Diana, so I
You
listen
did.
to Diana a lot of times, and sometimes I just have the American accent because I studied in New York, so
I
it's
know.
like a sort of mixture of both. It's my own
Accent,
language.
which is
Yes,
beautiful.
thank
It's
you.
beautiful. I have so much that I want to dive into with, yes, the Diana, playing Diana, which was an incredible musical, and you won an award for it. And, having lived in New York. But let's go way back. Like, how did it all start? Where did the passion? I mean, of course, you and I dove into our pasts, and we don't have to go through all of that, just whatever you want to talk about. But where did the love for theater come from? And was your childhood did your childhood lead to you wanting to be an actor?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think as a child, I felt a little bit restricted in who I was or who I wanted to be. I was put in a sort of harness. Um, my, I was very, I was a very happy child. I was a very spontaneous kid. I blurred out everything, and I was always like punished for that. Like you have to be like everybody else. You cannot stand out because what are other people thinking of you when you start making jokes at parties, or you should just lower your energy and all that. So that's what I know now. Of course, I didn't know that as a child. Really, I thought it was very normal that you have to behave, in all the time. And but what triggered me enormously was the fact that in those times, in the 60s and 70s, there were very old Hollywood musicals on telly. I think on Saturday afternoon, it might be Sunday afternoon. So at 2 or 3 o'clock, it started in the winter time. So my parents and my two brothers, we were just on the couch having a tea or coffee and cake and chips and popcorn and just watching a very old movie.
Love
And there was one movie about Frédéric Chopin, but very romanticized movie about him with a very handsome actor. And I fell in
that.
love with Frédéric Chopin when I was 9.
Love
Um,
it.
but not only Frédéric Chopin, but especially, of course, his music. And I started fantasizing about playing the piano and very naive thinking, I want to be the best Chopin player in the world. That's what I wanted to
Ah,
be.
I
Um,
love that.
yes. And then it's what I was telling about in my solo performance 2 years ago. How do things start? What do you need as a child to make yourself want to go on stage? What happened? And
Yeah,
sometimes really coincidences don't exist. So
true.
I was on a bike in the little village we were living in, and there was a cow having a calf, and she was in labor. And I was standing and watching it, and it was already getting dark, and I didn't care. But there was a house next to the field, and the people saw a little girl of I think I was 8, watching the cow giving birth to this little calf. And so they asked me inside because they
Oh,
thought it was better for me and for the site. And so I went inside, and they had 2 daughters, and one of them played the piano.
oh
And
wow.
so when the calf was born, we were having like lemonade. My parents called the police because they didn't know where I was. I was just having fun.
Oh God.
And she started to play the piano, and I thought I was just standing next to her, and I was going crazy. I
Wow.
wanted to do the same. So I came home at 10 o'clock in the evening. It was
Oh
awful.
dear.
Yes. And I talked about it. And then my parents said, "So if you want to learn to play the piano, you have to go to school."
Hmm.
And that's what I did. To make a long story short, they wrote me in the music school in the village. And so I started to study music. But at the same time, I started to go to the ballet school because that was good for my back
Yeah.
and for my muscles. And I started to study musical history. And then after a year of learning music, I started to play the piano. And I studied really many hours a day.
Wow.
And after a few years, I had a very good teacher. She gave me so much strength because
That's
still at
beautiful.
home, I didn't feel safe, but I felt safe when I was playing the piano. That
Mm.
was my salvation. But sitting still for like 8 hours when you study on the piano, I had a little bit difficulty with that because I
Yeah.
have so much energy.
Yes.
Um, and I started to sing also. I always sang when I saw the movies of Barbara Streisand. I really locked myself up in my bedroom, and
Mhm.
I put on all her albums, and I just sang along. No problem. I just could sing everything she was singing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there started to be a mixture of music and singing. So, but that the cow was giving birth gave me the extra, meeting people, meeting a girl who was as old as I was, playing the
Yeah.
piano, and then really get motivated. So I want what she's having.
Yeah.
Um, that motivated me. And the same thing happened when I auditioned for the theater school.
How old were you at that point?
I was 19 because
Okay.
I did 1 year over at school because I was very bad at mathematics.
Oh, who likes maths? Except for my son Christian. Anyway.
Well, exactly. Some people do.
Some people do.
Um,
And my husband. Okay.
oh, yes, her husband too. Oh my God. There are people on this planet.
I know,
We need
I tell
them.
you.
We need them.
You do need them. Yes, they
Well, we
balance
don't
us
need
out.
it. But it's the same with the theater school. I did auditions, but I was too. You cannot believe it, but I was too shy because
Wow.
as a child I always heard, just act normal and
Like dampen the energy.
don't
Yeah.
stand out
Yeah.
and lower yourself. And
Yeah.
so I started to be a very shy kid, and I was
I
still.
wanna I'm gonna interrupt you just briefly because you mentioned something about music was your salvation, and it made you feel safe to play the piano and to sing and to be like at the musical school, or I mean, before you went to university to study music. What did you, in as much as you're comfortable to talk about it, what do you mean by it was your salvation?
I was such a spontaneous girl, and I was not able to be that. I started to close myself, especially at home. And home was not a safe place. My mother was not safe. I think, but we don't know for sure because she was never tested. But it it wouldn't amaze me that my mother had a borderline personality, or maybe, well, she was a narcissist. That was very clear, and so I had to hide sometimes. There was no physical abuse, not really. Um, but the mental abuse was really quite, yeah, it was tough. And my father was okay, but he was always gone because he worked for British Airways, so he was traveling a lot. And it took me a very long time to try and understand what was going on with my mother. For instance, to give you an example, when I was 28, I wanted to travel and really travel the world like a lot of people do now. But at that time, it wasn't,
It wasn't normal. It wasn't, yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go as a backpacker climbing volcanoes in Ecuador. That was I wanted to do that. That was my goal. With a group of people, and also one of the guys in Belgium that once got on the top of the Mount Everest. So that was my goal, and I was so happy. I was really like outrageously happy that I was gonna do that. And my parents came to visit me, and the only thing my mother did was like, that is so ridiculous. You are never going to be able to do that. You are not strong enough. You are not clever enough. You are not. And she was just going on and on and on and on and on. And I was like, I was used to it, but I still had to process what was going on in that moment. And that was one of the only times I saw my father getting angry. He was pushing her. He was like, stop it. What are you doing? Stop it. Don't do that to her. And I was like, what is he doing? I never did that before. The strange thing is, maybe, of course, I've been thinking about it in the process of my life, because I had to fight for the things I wanted, and I had to refine myself in my being spontaneous and being myself. Um, it's also thanks to everything that happened at home.
Right. Isn't
Seeing what,
that's very interesting, isn't it?
yeah,
That often happens that you blossom in life, or you find your true calling, if we can put it that way, or you actually, it's not that you find your true calling, but you're led to your true calling and putting everything in it and not giving up because you're pushed. I've often heard it said, you pursue something either because you are working towards a reward, like a pleasure, or walking and pushing yourself away from pain.
mhm,
So that's very interesting. And for you, I guess maybe it was a combination of both, of that life and of that free spirit that you wanted to let out,
yeah,
and pushed away from the pain of having to contain yourself and the
yeah.
mental abuse that was happening at home.
It took a long time because my body was like in a total state of alertness all the time. So as a kid, I started to have scoliosis, and not because of the spine, but because of the muscles. They were too cramped. Everything was like, I built myself a harness to be able to go through everything that was thrown at me. But there was a certain time, my parents had the intelligence to not put me in a harness, because that's what happens when you start growing the other way. And
Yeah.
but the doctors knew that it was not only my spine, it was the muscles. So the tension was totally, and more in the right side than on the left side. So they wanted to put me in a harness, and then my parents said, no, we're not going to do that, because what happens when your harness gets off? Then she will collapse. So we have to find something else. And then I went like into therapy for 3 years. I had to go every 2-3 days to do a lot of exercises, and also get massages.
Mhm.
I'm still hooked on massages.
Yes.
Who's not? And
Who's
who's not? Everybody likes it.
a
But
good thing to be hooked on.
yes. But There was a time I was playing Evita in Belgium and Holland, and I had to do the waltz between Eva and Che. And doing the waltz, I had a wire, so I was,
Yeah.
and I was like bowing the whole time, like that side. And there were times that I came into the backstage, and I was still like this, and I couldn't get up anymore.
Oh
And
my goodness.
so once upon a time, there was also a manual therapist in the theater, in the audience, and he saw me moving, and he was like, there is something with that girl. I've got to help her. So I went to what he did is, and that was so fascinating. Every every muscle that was not functioning in the right way, like in a calm way, he saw the harness I built up for myself,
Wow.
and he just made a connection from the whole. The body keeps the score. The bar.
Absolutely.
That is
Absolutely.
absolutely what happens to everyone. Um,
100%.
yes.
Yeah.
So all the trauma that was in my body, he helped me to heal it.
Wow. That's
And
beautiful.
yeah, that was he was really Nick Brau was really my savior. And but still, when there is stress, like I had the last year, I rather had I had some stress. It's still the same. It's programmed in my system that when I get stressed, my harness is like putting up again. So but that's just I'm used to it. you know, I have to go outside, I take walks, and I have to do all the things I learned in the last
Yeah.
60 years. But anyway.
60 and sensational, honey.
Oh, thank you. I do my best.
Absolutely. Like I told you, I want to be you when I grow up.
Yeah, people say sometimes, age is just a number. And then I say, yeah, and jail is just a room.
But you're rocking it. You make 60 look like really. I, I know you've heard me say this, but this podcast is all about defying, well, not necessarily defying age, but defying gravity. If we let's just quote musicals, since we're talking, since I'm talking to you, defying gravity when it comes to age. And what I mean by that is defying the mindset that we can't either reinvent ourselves or pick up a passion that we had to put aside or continue to pursue our passion or do what we feel we're called to do because of a number, right?
Yeah.
And I really believe that it's not that you're picking up something. You have done extraordinary things for your entire life and you're still doing it. And I think that is such an inspiration and just it's just wonderful to see, and it just gives me energy when I
Oh,
talk to you.
good.
So I just
Yes.
yes.
Yay.
But let's go back. So okay, I interrupted you because I wanted to dive deep into certain things. But so you auditioned to go to musical school.
It was not a musical school. It was sort of different type of school. You could study two different things, but at the same time, it was the same thing because you have the department of straight play actor. And then there was the department you could study music and singing, which I already did, music, which I already did. But what happened in that school is that all the students were together. So there was not a division between the two departments because we had the same value. And
Yeah, that's great.
especially with the theory classes and music history, um, theater history overall. And we did modern ballet, classical ballet, tap dancing. So everybody did. We were like together. We were one group, and then after the second year, it would divide a little bit more, and we had to start working on our singing a little bit more and repertory and that kind of thing. But the exams at the end of the year, after 4 years, were also sometimes just like together. So
Right. Yeah.
that's been a little bit of struggle for the last 38 years, because I hate, the word musical star, because it gives a very strange connotation. Nobody is not really a star. But still in Holland and also in Belgium and maybe in a lot of other countries, it defines you. It puts a sticker on your forehead that you are doing only like big commercial showbiz things, and you're probably not able to do anything else. And it is very strange how people want to label you.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
because there was no label in our theater school,
Mm.
I don't understand. People need it, I think, in their life to label anything.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And actually, I think I'm just trying to compare. If you compare the U.S. with the Tonys and the awards in the Netherlands, it's literally called the Musical Awards, isn't it?
It's only musical. Yeah,
It's only musicals.
they would, because they are the toneel, the theater, and
Theater,
the no, toneel. Is that the same?
theater,
Toneel.
theater. Yes,
Okay,
theater.
but musical is also theater, right?
But they usually call it musical theater.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
just straight plays,
straight
straight
plays.
plays
Yeah.
in a theater. They have different kind of awards. It's never together because they get subsidized sometimes, not all of them, but it's that is seen as art. So when you do musical
Okay.
theater, it's not art.
Wow, that's
It
very
is,
interesting.
of course, we know it is.
Yeah.
Especially, they have been given 5 musical awards to a musical play that's called Milk. It's about women. It's made by young women. It's directed by a woman. It's called the Stichting Nanook, and they made the most beautiful music with the most beautiful women on stage. And they got 5 awards. That's because of the people in the jury. They think the same. We
Yeah.
need new stuff, but we
Yeah.
also need um, a little bit uh, we need a little bit more subsidized musical theater, because it's difficult to produce in a small country like this a totally new musical when
Yeah.
people are not very good educated in Holland about musical. I mean, some
Because
are.
but what comes, the musicals that are brought to the Netherlands are the big productions, right?
Yes, and
Mostly.
also again, Saturday Night Fever, again, Hairspray, um, a lot of very, very commercial
Mhm,
things. Les
mhm.
Misérable last year, which is absolutely fantastic, of course.
Yes.
Um,
You've been in Les Miserables, haven't you?
yeah,
You're in the
1991.
amazing. You were Éponine,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Um, Actually, it's one of my favorite songs. During my acting years, that was the song that Éponine does, her famous song, "All Alone." On my own, not all alone, on my own is was my go-to for auditions.
Heel alleen en naast me in verbeelding. Of course, we did the Dutch version.
Of
Yes.
course, you did the Dutch. I love that song. Gorgeous. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
I really want to dive in with you on what you think needs to change and what you see yourself doing in the future. But let's go into your amazing repertoire of performances, and before we jumped on camera, you told me that you've done so much. I don't want to try to mention it all because I will definitely forget things. And you said I might forget things.
I do.
You've done some of the and most recently you've done Sweeney Todd. You were Elizabeth Doolittle, which is an incredible role.
Eliza, yes. Sweeney Todd has already been a few
Eliza.
years ago. Go like,
Yeah,
what? Time flies when you're having fun, isn't it? But
it does.
the part I was playing in Belgium the last year, I just came back the beginning of this month.
Yeah.
Was very small, but like everyone says there are no small parts. There are only small
There are no small
pieces.
parts.
And I loved every minute of it. I really did. I had to die on stage, which I like dying on stage.
Okay.
But that was the first
Tell me
time.
more.
Well,
Very random.
I had to not really die like this, but there was a moment, there was a scene changement, and I had to sit in a big chair, and then my daughter would run up, me being in my farm, just milking the cows, I guess, and then my daughter would search me and came to me running and, Mom, where are you? And then she sees me in the chair, and then she's like trying to hug me, and then she says, Mom, what's wrong with you? And she starts to shake me, and I'm dead.
Okay.
We had one show the other evening that I was talking with one of the guys backstage. I had to switch microphones, and we always had a little chat. And I was always with my in ears. I always had one in ear in to stay in contact with what happens on stage.
Yeah.
But at that moment, I just put it out. I don't know why. And we had a chat, and then we started to chat about Israel and Gaza, which is, of course, a very strange conversation when you're doing a show. But we were diving deep into that conversation, and then he said to me, "You are already dead, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah, I'm dead." And we just went on, and then all of a sudden there were 20 people standing behind me. Where were you? You were not sitting in your chair. I was going crazy. Oh, that was awful. That never happened in my life.
Oh my gosh.
It was awful. Oh my God. I was like totally shaking, and
Oh
of course
no.
you have to, what did they do then? How did
Yeah.
they improvise? And that was very
So what did
clever.
you do? What did
Well,
you do?
I couldn't go. I mean, the scene was already finished.
Oh
It
God.
was just like gone. But my fellow
Oh,
actors, and especially the one who played my daughter, um, they were coming on stage and they were like, Mom, Mom, what, where is Mom?" I didn't hear anything of it. And then she had the presence to see a letter on the table. She took the letter and then she started to read like, "Oh, they found her in the field. Oh, she's dead."
oh my
A little bit
God.
longer than that. And then there was a scene change, and but it was really awful. But people made jokes about it for the next month, every
I
day.
can imagine. There's this anecdote. I know that when I used to do theater and when we did musicals, especially if you're doing the same show night after night after night, at some point your colleagues are going to try to play tricks on you and they do pranks. And so this just reminds me of that. I remember once I was doing a show in North Carolina and I had to go up with my tap shoes on, and it was a musical. It was nonsense.
Oh
Where
God,
sister
yes.
actor, and it's like just a couple of sisters out here having fun, like tackle that temptation with the times. And I had to literally stand at the front of the stage in front of everybody with my tap shoes on, and start tap dancing before the other nuns came out. And my straps were loose because I couldn't find my tap shoes before I went on. So I was standing there and people were just, instead of they were like looking at me and looking at my tap shoes because here I was trying to do the time step with loose tap. Like just yeah. But so it just reminds me of something like that, like the kind of pranks you pull on your colleagues, but that was definitely not one of those pranks. You're not showing
Oh,
up and being dead.
that was awful. Yeah. It was awful, but
Yeah.
everybody could laugh with it because,
Yeah.
one of the actors dealt with it in a very good
Which
way.
brilliantly, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
it's a
as you do.
nightmare. It's a nightmare for
Absolutely.
everyone on stage or off stage for that matter. But there was
Absolutely.
1,700 people in the audience. I had it once with my lady. I was doing it was my 365th show or something. So it goes like it flows through your body, or
Yeah, yeah,
it comes very natural at
yeah,
such a long time. And then we were doing my for lady in the Carré, which is the most beautiful theater in Amsterdam.
it is beautiful,
And
yes.
again, around 1,500 people. We were sold out, I think, for 2 months, and we were loving all that time we were spending there. But don't get too comfortable in a role. Never, ever. So I was doing the favorite scene where Eliza Doolittle comes in the house of Higgins for the first time, and she goes like, "What is this?" And she starts to touch, feel, and look around, and being very aggressive, like, "Did you tell him I went with a cab, and you should shut up?" And it's very
Yeah.
loud and very um, and I just said my favorite lines. And then I looked at Paul van Vliet, who was my Higgins, and there was a split second, and I was thinking, did I did I switch off my coffee machine at home? Did I? That was just like dum dum. And because I was just out of it like one
A sec
thousandth of a second,
Yeah.
I forgot my lines.
Oh my god,
I mean, that's
yes.
what I thought that happened. So I
Yeah,
looked at Higgins and I just opened my mouth and everything came out automatically. But
automatically.
I had no idea what I was doing. I was in a
Yeah.
total panic. And I thought like a panic like that you don't even know which scene you are doing because everything is like, what what am I where am I?
Yeah.
It was so terrible. And the trick of the brain, and that was really very interesting, that I thought that moment that I was thinking, did I switch off my coffee machine? I looked at Paul and I didn't say, I thought it was quiet on stage for like 1 minute or something.
Yeah, yeah.
I came in the dressing room after that scene and my whole body was shaking and I thought maybe I have a tumor, you
Oh
start
god.
crazy things. And after that, the resident director came to me after the show and she said, that was a good one too. And I said, didn't you notice? Didn't you notice there was an awkward silence in the theater because I didn't know my line? Didn't you notice? She didn't notice anything. There was
That's crazy.
nothing wrong. Everything
That's
went.
crazy.
I was just talking. I was just giving my lines. I just didn't know I was giving them.
Amazing. It's just
You
become
see?
so it's so automatic, like your body and everything knows it, but and that feeling of pure terror when you're, oh my God. Do you know that I have this recurring nightmare and have no idea where it comes from? I have a recurring nightmare that I'm about to go on stage and either I don't have my outfit
Oh,
or I completely forget like I don't know my lines. And I mean, theater is not a major part of my was not a major part of my career. I mean, concerts is what I've done always and singing, but for some reason it keeps coming back that
yeah.
I'm in the theater, I have to go on, it's, showtime and I don't know my lines. And I'm looking for my lines. I'm like, "Oh my god, where's my script? Where's my script?"
Well, I
Because I just have to
know.
look at my script before going on. And that feeling of terror, like pure terror, like, and that you go cold. So I
Absolutely
could
right. I still
ah,
dream about, I played Evita when I was like 24,
yeah.
and it's been a while,
Yeah.
and still can have nightmares that they call me like this morning to ask if I can replace one of the Evitas like this afternoon, and I can even remember that I dreamt about it that I was replying with, yes, but I did it in Flemish. It's a whole different translation. And that they say it doesn't matter as long as you say, what you have to say as Evita. And then that I say then, all right, I'll do it. But that you're standing on stage, and I could still sing "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina" in that Flemish, but I that you stand on stage and that you think, what the hell am I doing here? Because I don't know anything. And where are my costumes? Where are my shoes?
Yes, yes. Oh God, that feeling.
Yeah, it's
It's
awful. It's
yeah,
awful.
it
Yeah,
is.
but
It is. But it's also the biggest high, the biggest, like, it's euphoric, right?
well,
To
yeah.
be on
I
stage.
yeah, I played Peter Pan when I was 38, and the
Defying gravity, telling you.
I had to fly exactly.
Exactly.
And,
Defying gravity.
I had a very interesting conversation with the director, P.S. Chater Robinson, and I will never forget that, because you know how it is to be an artist. And it's probably for every profession where you need your whole brain and your whole heart to keep on functioning. And most of the professions then don't have people who applaud for you. We did sometimes during COVID, but that's, everybody has already forgotten that one. So um, sometimes people say that you are an actor or you want to be on stage to get attention. And it didn't, it never suits well with me, because there's so much more going on than that.
Oh, absolutely.
And I couldn't put my words on it. And I've been thinking and reading about it a lot, and I still couldn't find the words. And then I had a conversation with P.S. Chater Robinson, and he said, and I will never forget that, he said, how you have to be as a human being, as a person, as a woman, in my case, to put aside so many things in your life, what other people can have, like going to Christmas parties or being present at all birthdays, or when everybody's having free time and holidays, you have to work double as hard as anybody else.
Yeah.
Uh,
Especially during the holidays.
Absolutely, which
Yeah.
is fine. I mean, for me, it's fine. But it's not only that, that's the practical thing. But the thing you have to put in there emotionally also, all the preparations for the characters you're going to play, or the concerts you're going to do, how you have to be able to work every time again with so many different people, and to find a balance, because it can
Yeah.
be very stressy. But the most thing is that the applause you get from the audience never weighs up to the effort you make with your whole self, your personality, your body, the aches you have, everything. You are sick, you're still going on. But
Yes.
especially the heart that goes open, and the
Yeah.
emotion you
Yes.
throw to the people, and
You
you
give everything. You give
everything.
everything.
You
Yeah.
have to be so vulnerable to be able
Absolutely.
to, or either play somebody else, and prepare that. I always say that when I teach, when I see people singing a song or acting from their heads, and I
Mhm.
try to put them back into the body. That's what I do when I do master classes and when I coach,
Yeah.
because the vulnerability is the most beautiful thing to see when you look at someone on stage. You have to see right. You have to be able to see right into their hearts, and
Absolutely.
that's what he said to me then, and I will never forget that. So
Yeah, it's spot on. I had somebody on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, Victoria Theodore, which is a prolific pianist. She's toured with Stevie Wonder and Beyonce and, like, incredible artists, but she's an incredible artist in her own right, like a true virtuoso. And I think you really hit the nail on the head when people think that artists are either attention seekers or they do it for the fame or they do it for the accolade and the applause. And she said something. She said, if that's what you do it for, don't do it. You know, if you're doing it to be famous or you're doing it to be rich or, you know, I'm sorry.
Yeah, wisdom, good luck. Yes.
But you don't put so much on you don't leave a little bit on the floor. You leave it all on the floor. Like if you do it right, you leave it all on the floor. And indeed, what you're saying, it's the preparation, the always having to, of course, you always need to take care of your body. You always need to take care of, you know, we all do in anything we do. But when your voice is your instrument, when your body is your instrument, there is always that stress of, I can't get sick. I can't get sick. I
Yeah.
can't move my
Yeah. Still.
always.
Yes.
Yeah. Your friends ask you out and you're like, I can't go out because I have to perform tomorrow
Exactly.
or the day after. And
Yeah.
I have to, you know, have to save my voice.
Yes.
So it's, yeah, there are certain sacrifices that you make and you do it for the love of it because you love that this is, I mean, and I really do think that to be an artist, an actor, a singer, whatever you do in the arts, there is a big passion. If you're really doing it for the love of it, there's a big passion that has to be part of it.
Yeah.
Because it is making yourself so vulnerable every single time you get on that stage or every time you put an album out or every time you know. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're synchronizing now. Yes.
We're synchronizing, yes.
We do that a lot, don't we? It's also very strange when, especially maybe in musical theater, maybe not at the opera, I don't know. But when we have voice problems, or anyone in the musical theater has voice problems, it's like with everyone I talk to, everyone is ashamed. Like it's a failure. Like we are doing a top sports. We are like on top. We are doing 7 shows a week in Antwerp. The ensemble was doing 10 shows a week, which is crazy. It's absolutely,
Crazy.
it's
It's
crazy.
inhumane almost. It's like
allowed
humanly
to.
impossible.
Yes. But
and you feel guilty, like when you
why?
yes.
I was sick, right? I was playing in Blood Brothers, the mother, and
Yeah.
everybody got sick during rehearsal. The flu was going around, and I was like walking through it. I'm not having the flu. I'm healthy. I'm healthy. But the last day, everybody was better again, and then it was my turn. So that was like the third tryout or something. It was like 3 days before the premiere, 4 days.
Oh
And
God.
I was coughing so loud that I couldn't sing. I mean, my voice was like gone, and so I had to do the resting, and shutting
Resting of the
off,
voice.
and
Yeah.
And I was there. I was on the premiere. I was already doing fine, but still, it was in the press. It was in the newspapers. Vera Mann lost her voice, and it was like, why is my medical history in the newspaper? Just say I'm sick. So I was ashamed as well. Just say I'm sick. Not that I lost my voice. And at the same time, you know, we're the Olympics of the singing business. So we're top sporting people. But when you're doing, like, you see what football players, they get the massage, they get the best doctors, they get like, oh, we're putting him on his feet, but we still need, but he worked so hard, you know, or well, with us, it's shame. And I don't know why. What is that?
That's a very good point. It's a very good point. And
You know
people
it,
don't.
don't you? You have the same, haven't you?
Yeah.
Like,
oh God. I remember when I was very young, and this was when, and of course, if you're touring or you're doing concerts, and you just cannot lose your voice.
No.
And now I consider the songs that I sing, and there was a certain time that my songs would be a few of those power ballads that we're talking about, Celine Dion, Whitney Houston stuff. And I think back and I'm like, what did you do to yourself? Why would you
Why?
put yourself through that?
Who wrote this? Why I read it 7 times a week? Are you crazy? Really?
I know. Even like with nonsense, going back to nonsense, it was right out of college and I was about to go to grad school. And I wasn't studying theater, but I was adopted into the theater program. So I was really blessed to get this role in summer theater with all actors. Like, not that I'm not an actor, but I mean, these were people that studied musical theater. They had done their masters in musical theater. And doing that role, which I absolutely loved. And all the actors were staying in a house. It was a summer theater, like really these cities or towns that do summer theater in the States. And we were staying in a house, and the house was very moist. It was literally mushrooms growing in the carpet because it was so humid. Because of the humid, I mean, it was.
You could make soup out of it.
Oh. And so I got laryngitis.
Oh.
And I literally lost, my voice was down to a whisper almost.
Yeah.
And I remember at some point, and it was summer theater, so it wasn't like a very long, I think it was like maybe 2 months, but every day, like 2 months every day. And then of course during the weekends, twice a day. And I remember at some point asking, because I had to go on tour after, I had to perform in August, I think, doing concerts. And I remember asking the director, or somebody asked the director, the musical director, I think, asked the director, will we not get her an understudy just for the first week so she can recover? And literally his answer was, I'm paying her a lot of money to sing those songs. So it was, first of all, I was put down, and then, I'm paying her a lot of money to do those songs. I don't think it was that much money, I mean, to be honest.
Could it be more?
Anyway, but I remember, first of all, having to do, because we had to do the run-throughs and, my lines and everything, running through the show. I was one of the main characters in the show, in a whisper. And you know how bad whispering is for your voice, first of all. But then getting these prednisone or cortisone shots to open your vocal cords, which is like middle, right? It's like for horses. And it's just like me thinking, and I did the whole run of the show. I did. It was,
You did?
For
how many
I did.
days?
I did
Every day?
for 60 days, 90 days, 60 days. And then when I went back, I flew back home before I had to tour through the Caribbean. And I had to be silent for 2 weeks because my vocal cords were shot.
Yeah.
So it's just the stress of that, just honestly, the stress of that is one of the reasons why I didn't really, I've always flirted with musical theater. And I did do some things, but that kind of left this really, bad taste in my mouth. But
I can imagine.
I do. Yeah, but I do love it. So what it comes down to is that we do it for the love of it. We absolutely do it because otherwise
it's magic.
Yeah.
It
really is. But it really, and the other side of it is exactly what you're saying. There's magic to stand on stage and be able to give and see people receive it in such a beautiful way. Know that you're bringing so much joy to people,
Yeah, and also watching it. I a few months ago, I went to the premiere of the new version of Jesus Christ Superstar, directed by Ivo van Hove, and I was in the middle of the first row. I was going like, hi Jesus. And I was crying my eyes out, the Gethsemane, the 11 o'clock song, like they say in musical theater.
Yeah.
I can, Billy Elliot crying in the theater, Warhorse crying in the theater. But when I cry in the theater, it's mostly not only because of a song or something. It's mostly because I can have so much admiration for the talent that's standing in front of me.
Yes.
It's the talent that moves me the most of the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's just every single time you see that, you get to really appreciate this gift that is given to, to those who do it. It's such a gift, and for them to do what it takes to be able to give that gift back, And I think to appreciate that is also quite beautiful to be able to do that.
Yeah, and as I get older, I am more and more aware of how important it is that the people you meet on the way are the most important people in your
Yeah.
life when you think you don't need them.
Yeah.
I can do it
Very.
myself, when you're young.
I know you
It's
can.
my talent. But it
I know
is
you can.
but it is more and more that I thank people for what they meant in my life and how they were in all shades and colors, and because we tend to forget, or we think we do that later. And I had it with my piano teacher, Mariette Moyel, who was for me my surrogate mother, because she believed in me. She believed in my talent. And I worked so hard. I studied like 5, 6 hours a day on the piano. I was really very good. I only stopped playing. And when I went to the theater school when I was 19, there was another world opening for me, and I met so many new people. And she was still teaching me, but I also had a teacher at the theater school. So I was like, what am I going to do now? And I went to her and I said I had to stop the classes with her because I didn't have time anymore. And I probably said thank you for everything, but I can't remember. What I, hindsight, I would, after a few years, go back and
Mm.
really say thank you from the heart, because it's afterwards that I understood what she meant to me. Not in
Yeah.
the moment itself, because I was too young. And
Yeah, of course.
but I couldn't, because she already was, she died.
Yes. Yeah.
And I did it with my teachers from high school, which was funny because I had an interview in a very big newspaper in Belgium, with a whole photo shoot and everything. And they asked me, we want you to pick out 5 important places you used to go to when you were young, or you were a child, or whatever. So there was one thing I definitely wanted to go to back to. That was my school, where I spent my life when I was between 11 and 19. It was a Catholic school with nuns. Um, it was good. It was a good school, but there were a few teachers that were not that nice. But there was one teacher, and that was the mathematic teacher, the math teacher,
A maths teacher.
and I was not good at mathematics. And there were not a few other teachers. They made a big impression on me.
Hmm.
And I said, I want to go to that school. I just want to be in that school. I just want to see if the piano is still there, because sometimes I played on the grand piano there. I just
Yeah.
want to smell the atmosphere or whatever. So we went there, we did a photo shoot, and then the journalist opened the door, and there were 5 old teachers of mine waiting
Oh,
for me in that room. And
my
also the
gosh.
math teacher. I said, Peter, is it you? And after all those years, like, yeah, more than 36 years, I could thank my old teachers for the
Oh,
way
that's
they were
beautiful.
teaching and the way they were influencing their people in the class. Because the math teacher, I had to do exams, but I was not good. I would never be
Mhm.
good at maths. And he said, I don't care. I'll give you
Mm.
enough. Um,
Oh,
I'll give you like 6 to 10, or a B plus or something, because I know that you were going to the theater school. So
yes, yes.
nobody cares if you're good at maths. So
Oh,
it's okay.
oh, that's beautiful. And then to get to see him again after so many years.
And I went to see
That's
my solo show too in Antwerp. They all came
really
to see the show. Yeah. Oh, that was
how
yeah. That makes
amazing.
a person very happy, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course. Talk to me about your solo show. What inspired you to write it? I mean, it was your life story in a way, wasn't it?
Yeah, which was a little bit scary because what do you tell? What can you not tell? And will people, we have to stop about thinking about what other people will think. So you have to make what you want to make. Um, but it was also a necessity to write something myself because nobody's giving me a job. I'm a middle-aged woman, so I'm really like, there was a certain point in your life as an actress that you are forgotten, or because you're too old or something. I do a lot of things. I do concerts. I'm also voiceover for a lot of like I was
You've done movies and yeah.
Flemish Fiona. I was the Flemish
Yeah, and
Anastasia,
Shrek.
whatever. Yeah, so much fun. And but not only that, but because of a lack of money, when you go on tour with big or small shows or plays or whatever, the tour dates are getting shorter and shorter. Like where we were going on tour for like a year, 9 months, 10 months, or even longer.
Yeah.
Now it's like 4, 6 months,
Wow.
and that is
That's because of subsidy, because of a lack of subsidy.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought, if nobody is giving me a job again, let's do it myself. And I was thinking about that for years and years. So it's not only that, but how do you start to tell your story without making the whole show about you? Because I didn't want to write about me because I had the urge of telling everyone what happened in my life. But I wanted to share a story about the whole traveling from being a little battered girl, um, and go through different stages as a child and making choices who were like very good for me, um, and fight yourself through the things that are thrown at you, and then making decisions by yourself as a woman, not married, no children, being alone, and just have a career and be a happy person. How do you do
How
how
do you do that?
how do you do that? But especially it was more about being a human than being Vera.
Yeah.
What do you need to have a passion, not only
Yeah.
in my profession but also in life?
Yeah.
What is the fire burning? What is it? And I've been writing about it for more than a year, and then you go to the rehearsal. It was during the rehearsal that I started to get scared. Like, did I
Oh.
do right? Isn't this too much about me? What is it? Why am I doing this? Can we talk about it?
That's such a key question. Why am I doing this?
I don't want to do this. And then I had 2 weeks of tryouts.
Mhm.
And one of my best friends, that is also very important, I think, for every artist, whatever you do, maybe for everyone in life. I have this one friend, Teresa. She was an actress, but she had a accident in her life and she was never on stage again. So,
Oh,
but
wow.
we are like soulmates. And when we go to the theater together, we have like the same taste. We have like a little bit the same way we look at things, and not always, but a lot of times. And I know when she comes to see a show I'm in, that she can lift me up and not tear me down like some people do.
Yeah.
She can criticize me in whatever she says, but it's always with love and respect.
Right.
And I always listen
That's
to
so
her.
important.
She's
That's
always
so
right.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
always right. So when she came to the first tryout, um, she was like crying, but also like, this is good. And I didn't believe her. I still didn't believe her. What do you mean it's good? Shouldn't I cut it? Shouldn't I make it shorter? Oh yeah, you can always make it's try out. You can, because it was like 2 hours or something.
Yeah.
And we talked about it for hours and hours, and then that I started to believe in what I was making.
Yeah.
And I had premiere 2 weeks later, and then COVID came in the country and the world, so I had to stop doing all that. It was tough. Yeah, it was tough. But at the same
Yeah.
time, when everything closed down, it was like I needed that. I needed the rest.
The break.
I needed to
Yes.
stand still and rethink about what I was doing. So yeah, it was okay. And I kept on working for 2 years. The theaters were closing, they were opening, they were closing,
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
opening. We were all going crazy. But the government helped us. So
Thank
they're
God.
subsidizing the theaters to keep the possibility to pay us whenever we
Yeah.
were doing a show. And they were also subsidizing the tickets when you did not, when they paid like 80% of the tickets if
Oh,
you
wow.
didn't
Okay.
revisit,
That's great.
except the tickets you already sold. So
Yeah.
yeah, they were good. It was good.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. And did you, when things opened up again, did you perform the show for a number of months after that?
Yes,
Or did
I kept
you?
on doing the show for 2 years, and
Amazing.
the last one was in 2022, and then it was in June or something. I
Yeah.
think everything
Yeah.
was open.
Things were open.
Yes,
That's amazing that you still performed the show. That's amazing. And it kind of it's this incredible testament to the power of the show, that even through something like COVID hitting, you know, it still stood,
it still stood, but
strong.
the thing was, it was booked in quite small theaters or
Yeah.
middle theaters, and I had to take one of the musicians out because of the money. So I used to have two musicians. So then I only had the pianist, who was
Yeah.
absolutely great. But the plan was to make it go to the middle and the bigger theaters after
Yeah.
that, and
Yeah.
to have a bigger orchestra. To really build it out. And no, that was not possible. That was
Right.
absolutely not possible anymore. And
Yeah. Do you think that might still happen?
not with that show, but
No.
we are working on something something
Oh, I
else.
can't
Yes.
wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. I mean, we brushed over what you've done. You were Diana in a solo show, right? You've done Mamma Mia. You've done like a lot of the massive commercial musicals. And you also spent some time in New York. I mean, you're friends with certain, like a number of big actors in the States as well. Um, some, not.
Oh, no, 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 not really. Um, I know some very.
Bernadette Peters, aren't you? You know
Oh yeah,
Bernadette
I've
Peters.
seen her. I never talked to her. I know some famous people, but I cannot talk about it.
No, of course not. We don't need to. We don't need to hear about them.
No. But yeah, it's the thing is that what's always so very interesting is how it works in the theater, or in the business. In fact, is that
Mhm.
I think I did like 7 really, really huge commercial, big musicals.
Musicals, yeah.
That's it. For the rest, I did. My heart goes out, for the biggest part. My heart goes out to the
Small,
smaller.
independent.
I'm a
Yeah.
Sondheim adept. I played Into the Woods.
Hmm.
I played Fosca in Passion. I did Company, and then Sweeney Todd, which I thought
Yeah.
never would happen, but I did that
And it
part.
did.
That was really fantastic. Um, But there's also something, that is also very, very interesting, maybe, to tell to people how you have to stay very true to yourself and only do things from the heart. Is I wanted to play Fosca in Passion, and nobody wanted to produce it in Holland because, of course, it's absolutely not a commercial product.
No, right.
And I was talking with producers, like, not Never Please, but I was just talking to them. It's a piece of art. You really should do it. And if it's not with me, do it with somebody else. But you really have to educate the audience in Holland to do that kind of shows.
Right.
I asked for that for 7 years. Nobody, but really nobody wanted to do it. So
wow.
I'm not easily frustrated about things, but I went to the premiere of Mamma Mia in Utrecht. Simone Kleinsma was doing Donna. And of course, Joop van den Ende and me, we know each other very well. And we just had a chat at the bar, which was quite funny because I don't know why, but I started to ask him questions, like, but really benign questions, like, why is there no producer who has the guts to do a Sondheim in Holland? Why? And I could talk to him freely because he's a very commercial thinker. So
he is, yes.
The intention of talking to me was just from the heart, because I thought he's never going to do that anyway. So I might as well just...
For those who don't know, Joop van den Ende is one of the he brings the biggest musicals to the Netherlands.
The biggest in Europe, in fact.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. In Europe.
He's the Cameron Mackintosh of Europe. And I was not trying to convince him. I was telling him about my frustrations. You know, I had like 3 glasses of wine and, you know, it was okay. And he said, "You're absolutely right." I asked him, "Did you see the show?" And he said, "Yes, I did. I saw it in New York and I saw it in London." And I said, "So you like it?" "I like it a lot, but it's not possible. We cannot do that in Holland. There is no audience for that." "But why don't you educate your audience?" You know, I was like, and but never with the intention of, you know, trying to get him to do it. And that's the whole point. I was just talking to him with the love for theater. He has the love for theater. And the thing that happened was, he saw my passion and he saw my emotion in it. He called me.
Your heart.
He called me the next day and he said, "You're so right. We're going to produce it."
Oh my God.
My God. Joking. And with me as Fosca, yeah, sure. With you, because if you want somebody else, you just no. We want. And then I said, okay, then I want Stanley Burleson, and then I want Pia Douwes. You know, I was like casting the show.
Oh, amazing!
And then he said, no, Stanley is doing another show. I said, but you are the boss. You can decide, Stanley.
You're out of that show.
And we did it. We just toured for like 7 months.
Amazing.
Out. Getting awards like thrown at us because everybody thought it was so beautiful. So you just got to do it. And that's the same with solo things. You start to write, the first word, you throw away half of the script, you start again. Yeah. And what I want to write now is with a colleague of mine, Ellen Evers. She was in Chicago. She did a lot of. She is an amazing singer with a very big voice. She was Sally Bowles in Cabaret. She's a little bit younger than I am, and we are very good friends. And we were going to see a premiere of a show with 2 guys. It was a generation thing, an older guy talking to the younger guy and talking about their lives, and it was very funny. But we liked it so much, and we were thinking, why aren't we going on stage together? Me being 60, you being 58, people don't want us anymore. We are out of work now. And why don't we talk about really in a very funny way, like how do you say, Jennifer Saunders or something, like trying to
Yeah.
do a choreography of Chicago, and then with Ella with a
Oh,
new hip that she cannot do it anymore.
oh,
Talking about
amazing.
ageism, talking about the things we talked about, losing your voice and being like
Yeah.
very, what happened to us in all those years? Can we talk about it? And can we talk about it? Yeah, being a woman in your 60s, that people are already saying to me now, can you still do that? Hello, I'm not
What do you
dead.
mean? Exactly.
You know, I was backpacking the other day, last year in the summer, I was backpacking in Indonesia
To Indonesia. Yeah.
for 5 weeks. And then a friend of mine said, I cannot understand that you do that at your age. What are you talking about?
What does that even mean?
Really very frustrating sometimes. I mean, you know.
Yeah. I can't wait to see. This sounds absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to see and is that something you want to do more, like write? I mean, of course, this is something you're writing for the two of you,
Yeah,
that
but
you're
we're
going to be
going.
on stage.
Yeah, we're asking a stand-up comedian to write it with us,
Oh,
and
amazing.
yeah, we're brainstorming now. So whenever I
Yeah.
hear something funny or she says something funny, I just write it down. So we are really making a book with all the crazy things that happened in our lives together as well,
Ah,
because we lived together for 6 months, and
oh, wow.
I mean, there's a lot of stories to tell about that, and how we fled a yoga retreat because the yoga
Oh,
was so bad. But there's so many things to tell. So it's gonna be sort of French and Saunders, a Dutch version. Then
amazing. Amazing. I can't wait.
me neither. Yeah, but then we still
I'm
have
going
to
to be
sell
at the
it.
premiere. I
Oh
somehow I
yes,
will be at
yeah. But you know what happened as well? What is very odd, you know. I am like a sort of walking encyclopedia. Can you say that? I am like I've got like 38 years of experience. And
Yeah.
the other day they wanted to kick me out of a show because I'm not famous enough.
Jesus. You
Can you
have
imagine?
four of the biggest awards,
Six, no,
and
four.
have done have and let's not talk about the you telling me that you're going to sit on your couch and watch well, this it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It is
I mean,
because I don't have enough followers on Instagram, and I'm not an influencer, and I am not enough on television. When you are nowadays as an artist not on television, you are not bankable. It's very difficult to sell a show. They say you have to be on telly.
that's crazy.
It's awful.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think it's so sad with, people of your stature, people that have such a breadth of work, behind them. And at the pinnacle of your career, your name was, your name still is just synonymous to, to an incredible actor and singer and performer. And to have something like internet be, just that makes me so angry, because I mean, and it's also very personal. I was on TV on some of the biggest shows, when I released the album that went global, and that was pre YouTube and pre iTunes, and yes, I'm on YouTube now because I grew my channel very slowly after I retired, semi-retired for my personal reasons. And but that doesn't, and it's really sad, because the generation, and it's not just the generation that, today's generation. It's not just today's generation, but it's those that also know, those that know what you've done, that still give the weight to how many followers do you have, and how many views do you get, and
Yeah.
how many eyeballs do you pull. on TV, and it's really sad.
It's very sad, and the casting department is led by marketing.
Yeah,
It's all marketing, and when you have a commercial, you have a business. I understand the marketing.
Yeah.
But I also believe in educating your audience, and
Absolutely.
they were telling me that I was not famous enough in the country I was working then, and I thought, like, famous.
And in the country you've worked in for 38 years, that
No,
is
it was not
ridiculous.
here. It was in my home country, which is even worse.
Even worse.
Even worse, the country I was born in, I was not famous enough. So the marketing department wanted to kick me out. And not kick me out. My contract was finished, and they were giving everyone another contract, another actor and me. The two of us were the only ones they wanted to. That was very painful, but I couldn't believe it, and so I had to leave Belgium again, and I called my house owner, because I had to hire an apartment over there. I called the house owner. I have to stop
your contract.
The lease contract, and I did the next day. And 10 days later, they called me back again to say, we made a mistake. We want you back. What is this? What the hell is going on here?
Oh my God.
I was going crazy. I was really going crazy. It was very strange, but I did it because I thought, I liked the group I was working with, and I liked the show very much. But it's marketing. You have to be on TikTok. You have to, on telly. And I go like, oh, please. But
and you've done things on television, but if that's not where your heart is now, then
I would love to do television, but that's the same. It's a vicious circle, because when you do a lot of musical theater, the casting directors for television or film don't take you serious as an actor,
because they label you as a musical theater.
Absolutely, as if you did. I did straight plays as well, a lot of them, but it doesn't matter, because they don't get that much attention as when you do a big musical. So it's a vicious circle you're getting into. And so the best thing I can do also for my own business is to write my own stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to do a play, but I'll tell you that off screen, because you are going to love that one too. But that will take also, I had the guts, and I wasn't sure about whether I should do it or not, to take all my awards like in my arms and to take a photo of that, and then to mention, like, when you had success in the past, it doesn't mean you are secured for success in the future. So I'm looking for a job, because next season, which starts in September till the summer of 25, I don't have a job, because the job I was doing ended earlier than we thought it would end.
And planned,
So
I thought that was very gutsy and very, speaking of vulnerability, I thought that was so vulnerable, and also kind of holding up a mirror to the industry, which I really loved, and especially you, like, you're holding your awards. I think it was the day of or the day after the awards.
I'm never invited. I'm never invited there. They never mention me either.
That's crazy.
Strange. They put all these little, when they do the montage of all the past people who won the awards, it's as if I don't exist. And I don't care for myself. I mean, it's not about the ego. It's about, you need to be on screen. Everybody forgets in a few months who won the awards anyway. But that moment of 15 minutes of fame, you need it. You can only get a job when you are seen on a screen or on stage. It's the jobs that keeps on giving the other jobs. But when you are not seen, everybody forgets you. I mean, you are. We know we are replaceable as artists. not as
Yeah.
human beings, but as
Not as
artists.
human beings.
No,
Yeah.
there is a difference. So, but
Yeah.
it's a strange world. It's tough. It's a
Yeah.
tough business.
It is. And it comes back to what we were talking about earlier, right? That you do it, you don't do it. In the end, you don't do it for the fame or the money or because this is what you deal with, and also because, especially when we talk about ego, our egos are at the expense of the entire audience, which is the country or wherever you are, right? I mean, everybody's opinion is it's not we train ourselves to not take it personally because otherwise it's
You would
you're at the
die.
mercy of
You would
everybody. Yes, literally. Literally. But it's also you really have to do it for the love because that's what will keep you going through all of this, through having to really, to very painful moments like these, like
Yeah,
thinking, my goodness, I have put myself out there
yeah,
for, to give this gift back because it is giving back.
yeah.
And then not to be appreciated or not to feel appreciated. And then try to feel, you get yourself up again and
And again and
you,
again and
and
again.
again and again. Yes. And again and again. And so would you recommend young people to go into theater, knowing what you know?
Oh yes, and I do because I sometimes I work with young talents. I coach
Mm.
them. I give master classes at the conservatory. I did one in Brussels a month ago. I do some festivals where new talents are being judged by a
Yeah,
jury. I am in the jury, and
yeah,
to give them, they can tour. When we are choosing the biggest talents, they can tour around Holland, and they're stand-up comedians.
amazing.
They write their own stuff. So, and there is a trust in me that I'm I really like to teach. So that's what I
Yeah,
want to do as well, because everything I learned, I want to give it away. I want to give
anyway,
it
yes,
to
yes,
the
yes,
next and the next generation.
yes,
So yeah, it's about talent, but most of it's about perseverance. It's
yeah.
about having this fire in you that you know from the heart there's nothing else in the world you really rather
You
do.
can do exactly. Not only you want to do, but there's nothing else that you can do. This is like something you have to do almost, right?
Yes, you
Yeah,
have to do it, so that you don't regret later on that you didn't give yourself the chance
yeah,
to use the talent and the character you have to be on stage. It's all about telling stories.
it really is.
It's
It
it's not
really,
about ego. It's about, and that's what Pierce Chater Robinson also said. It's there is something about some people who wanted to be an actor or a singer, or which is the same thing. It's about telling stories.
stories. Yeah, yeah.
You
It's
want
telling
to
stories.
plant a seed in somebody's heart by telling a story, and you have in the moment the feeling that you can change the whole world.
Yeah, absolutely.
You cannot. One of the most beautiful things I ever had when I was doing a play, Little Voice, from Jim Cartwright. There was a man, he was 72 years old, and he came to me after the play, and he shook my hand, and he was crying, and he said, "It's the first time ever in my life that somebody let me cry in a theater. Not because you were not good, but you touched my heart." And
Wow.
I will never ever forget that and that's what it's all about. That's what
That's
I
what you
want
do
to
it.
do when I'm in the
Yes.
audience. Not
Yes.
crying, but
Yes.
touch the heart,
But yes.
make people
Yeah.
angry, whatever, but do
Yeah.
something.
Stir emotions, like wake them up or yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
really,
Yeah.
fabric of emotions. Yes,
Yeah. So if you would give any advice, it would be to hold on to that perseverance.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter, if you're not talented enough, you don't have the tools, like your voice is not good enough, or you don't have the stamina, or your body is not, you work on that first and see then what happens. But a lot of people think I first have to have a decent job. That's what people say, you know. Let's be a lawyer first and then see what we can do in show. I go, what? Don't waste your time.
Yeah.
And for parents, it's very important to teach your children about music, and to teach your children about express yourself, to move,
Yes.
let the body move, let them feel the rhythm. The rhythm of the
Mm.
music, the rhythm of is the rhythm of life. And
Yeah.
it makes them explore about the body, about the mind, it heals everything. It's been my healer in my
Yeah.
life, but for you as
Yeah.
well.
Absolutely.
This is a
Absolutely.
long story, isn't it?
And I love every single, we did say in the beginning that was going to happen. And I think and I think we've been we didn't go over the top. It's not like we haven't passed the 2-hour mark. I don't even know how long it's been.
I don't know. Does it say somewhere?
We're like an hour and a half in. But I wanted this podcast to be a long form podcast because I want deep conversations. And,
Maybe
that
we should tell the audience about our first reunion after we didn't see each other for 18.
17 years, 18 years. Yes.
That
And the thing is that the time we met for this podcast, I was like, it was the exact same time on a Sunday that we met in Amsterdam at 1 p.m. We're going to have lunch and what happened? Well, they closed the restaurant on us to begin with, or they
no, they
started.
were preparing for dinner, and we had lunch. We were at the V Hotel in Amsterdam. With the
Yes.
restaurant is called the Lobby. It's a beautiful restaurant. It's very cozy. It has a very nice
Yeah, it was
atmosphere.
lovely.
And the funny thing is, we I think we started to have lunch like 12:30 or 1 o'clock or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Something like that.
And we started talking, and we couldn't stop. Of course not. And they were cleaning the tables around us. We were, what time is it? It's 6 o'clock. They were preparing for dinner. And
I know.
maybe we should leave. Maybe we should do that. And then you went to your hotel. I went home, and then you said,
Yeah, no, I walked home with you.
"Oh, right, that's right."
Walked home with you, and then I had to go to dinner, and I think it was
Oh,
like 8 o'clock or something. So,
that's right.
called a
You
cab
still
and
had
then
to
went
go
to
to dinner, right?
I know. And then the next day, we decided to meet up again
Yes,
because we hadn't finished,
you hadn't finished, of course not.
and I almost missed my flight.
So we went for breakfast, sort of brunch again,
Yeah.
and we couldn't stop again. It was so funny. So you had to rush to Schiphol to get your flight.
I know.
Oh,
So of course, we have a track record. So I knew that this was not going to be. It was not going to be. But then beyond that, you have such a rich, which is I think also the reason why we spoke for hours because we both have very rich
experienced
lives
life.
and
Yeah.
yeah and so much to always catch up on, which is and it's so lovely to catch up with kindred spirits.
Oh, thank you.
I think that's the
Well,
most beautiful thing.
yeah. We talked about life and what happened to us the last few years, and a
Yeah,
lot happened.
yeah. A
And,
lot happened. And it all kind of comes back around to, the good and the bad leads to what
sure.
you like what you said. There are no coincidences. And I think there are beautiful synchronicities and things that happen in our lives um, lead us to what to a higher step and then a higher step and then a higher step and really seeing the path unfolding and I think also seeing the passion that you have transform into and maybe it changes, but it changes into something even more beautiful. I don't know. I think I really am convinced that everything that happens to us in life and the the most difficult parts as well, just are stepping stones, and they help us become stronger so that we can climb up that next step when it's required of us, or when the path unfolds for us to be able to do that. So through it all, I'm grateful, you know, for
Yeah,
it all.
me too. And I also find myself rather privileged.
Yes,
Let's skip the rather.
very.
I'm privileged
Yeah,
to live in this
yeah,
beautiful house, to have done what I did,
yeah,
to have a career that has been mostly very blessing as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
And to still be doing it,
and to
because
still
you are still freaking doing it, honey.
still freaking doing it. Yeah, and there is just, as a family, we totally broke down and we're apart. And I don't see my family. I don't have any family anymore now.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I'm very sorry about that.
it's been a loss, especially with my brother. You know,
Mm,
um, and I lost my dog last
I know.
year. But the thing is, it's very strange when people tell you, when are you going to get another one? It was like, you cannot replace it. You know, it's not a thing.
No,
It's not furniture.
no,
Uh,
no.
but what happens is, I had dogs for 23 years. I lost
Mhm.
my whole mojo, like getting up early in the morning and go out. Storm,
Yes.
weather, snow, I don't care. I just go
Whatever
out.
it is, yes.
I don't go
Yes.
out. Sometimes I stay inside for 2 days because
Wow.
why should I? I mean, I'm not going to take long walks on my own.
Yeah.
So I've been fantasizing about, now we are a year further in time, and
Mhm.
sometimes I think maybe I should. I'll show you something. You're gonna go crazy. I'm fantasizing about a dachshund, a tekel.
Oh,
One with the
really?
beard, you
Ah.
know, the rough
Oh.
hair, because I know
Yeah.
they're very small.
Yeah.
They can get like 15 years old, and then I'll be 75, and still have to carry my dog on the stairs, when he gets or she gets
Love it.
old. So
Yes.
I've been
Yeah.
fantasizing about that, and the other voice says, no, 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 don't do it, don't, just don't, because it also gives me a lot of freedom. I can go wherever
Yeah.
I want to, and it's a lot of
Yeah.
money. Dogs are expensive, especially
Yes.
when
They
they're
are.
not healthy. Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
but I'm just, looking at Instagram and looking at those dashuns, like, oh my
Oh.
God, they're so sweet,
It's
baby.
so
And
cute.
no, no, I'm not. These voices in my head going like, but I was cleaning out some space. I don't know what I was doing here, but every time I'm doing my bookkeeping, I clean the house because then my head
Mhm.
is clean. There's
Yes.
something strange about it, but anyway. And I opened a box. It was down here, and I found something that I thought, this is really, now I'm really going crazy because it must be a sign. I don't know what it is, but I found something that somebody made for me, I think 35 years ago in a cafe, because it's written on a beer card on the flip side. And it's a clown with a text saying, I wish I had a teco.
Oh, no. Oh my.
Isn't this
Oh my
incredible?
God.
And I don't know who wrote it. I don't know who did that. I mean, 35 years ago, I
Oh my
found this.
God.
The moment that my voice is going up and down, yes, no, I should do it, no, I shouldn't do it. I get this. I found this in my house.
That's insane.
It
To
is.
all of you who don't understand Dutch, a decal is a Dachshund, which is exactly what Vera is talking about. Wanting that is insane.
So now I have to do it.
Now you have to, of course. There's no choice.
Look at all the signs, no, I'm not. I will see. I'll
We'll
take
see.
my time.
We'll
First,
see. Whatever you end up doing is, is whatever you are supposed to do. I won't be surprised if I see a picture of a deco.
maybe in a year.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah.
We'll see. But I miss it. I miss it a lot. Really do.
I can imagine. Yeah. Aw. Oh, I can't even, bringing this conversation to a close is just, well, it's not a close. It's like a pause, it's a pause but before I do that, I will challenge you. And actually I'm challenging both of us to maybe in a year's time. Let's see how much time we need, because I am going to have to train myself and get my high notes back, or the higher of the high notes back.
Me too.
You know what I'm going to say to you, right? I would love to do a duet that it's called Tell Me, Barbara Streisand and Celine Dion.
Oh my God. I don't want to be Celine.
Obviously.
It's Barbara who learned me to sing. I don't want to be Celine.
I don't know. Of course you're Barbara, darling.
No.
But I think it's such a beautiful, and I don't know, for some reason, after last summer that we hung out for hours, and I was back at home in Ireland and I was doing something, and just that song kept coming in my head. I was like, let me go look for it. And it just I was like, I have to do this with Vera. It would be just amazing.
Yes.
That would be amazing. I don't know what the occasion will be, because I'm writing my next concert and my next performance. I have something in my mind. So, whatever the occasion, it would be amazing. Oh. It's been almost 20 years since we sang together. So I think maybe it's time.
When I saw you singing in Den Haag at the festival,
the North Sea Jazz Festival,
the North Sea Jazz, I was so happy that I saw you performing again. That was the whole trigger. I didn't know you were here, so I saw that concert. Maruja is here. What is going on? And that's when I texted you, like, let's get together. And how beautiful you were. And oh my God, I was so happy to see you. So we'll keep that warm, and I'll start rehearsing this afternoon to get behind.
And like I said, I'll give myself a year, because if I need to sing those notes.
Oh yeah, that would be funny. Yeah, good. Let's do that. Mm-hmm.
Let's do it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's on. It's recorded now, so we'll have to hold ourselves.
There's evidence. There's evidence.
That's it. So with that, my darling Vera, it was so good to talk to you. What a wonderful treat on this Sunday. Well, for me, for us, it's Sunday now, and when this comes out,
yes,
yeah. What a wonderful treat on a Sunday afternoon.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Such a pleasure, and an honor, because I know who you are.
I know who you are. I'm gonna kill you. Yeah.
Such a pleasure and such an honor, and you're always such a joy to speak to, and you always put a huge smile on my face.
Let's have
lunch. I know let's have lunch. Soon, my darling. You'll have to come visit soon, and I will be in Amsterdam again soon. And
good.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
we'll do it again.
Oh please, yes. Thank you for this podcast, and I'm very curious what I said, because I don't even remember. When I go blah blah blah, I go like, oh my God, did I do that right? But it's gonna be
it was. It's always right, because it's from the heart, which is exactly the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is brilliant.
Thank you.
Mwah. I love you, darling.
I love you too. Bye.